Oh,
This is working. Hey, are we good now? Look at that. There we go. What's happening? One of these days I'll get it right.
You've only been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of what happens. See, she gets it. So yeah, we're back once again with a wonderful new guest here at the tavern. And for those that are joining in for the first time, this is a very calm, relaxing way for us to dive down random rabbit holes and figure out what's new in the world of TTRPGs. And we do it with friends because it's more fun that way. Tonight we have the wonderful Eliza. I believe I pronounced that right. Hopefully,
Yes, yes,
awesome.
yes.
And we're gonna find out what they're up to in the TTRPG space. But before we do this, I'm gonna put Chuck on the spot, even though he probably
What do
knew
I
he
do?
was gonna do it. Can you give
Uh,
a shout out to our sponsors tonight?
oh man, our lovely, lovely sponsors. You know what? I'm not even going to put it in the chat so I can actually have something to read this time. Got it. Quick on the draw, buddy. So yeah, no, sponsors. Lovely, lovely sponsors. So of course everyone knows we have the lovely music provided by our friends at Monument Studios via their Fantasy Plus app. We use it here, we use it in the garage, we use it on Dress to Quest, we use it on Power Rangers, we're using it on future projects. We use it everywhere we can. We love it. Can't say enough about it. So if you want to try it for yourself, go to their website, use the code MISFIT, and you'll get either 30% off your order or 3 months free. And it's wonderful. It's thousands upon thousands of bits of music and sounds, and it's fun. You can get lost in it. You want math rocks? Go check out our friends over at CanadianDice.ca. Use the code MISFIT15 and you get 15% off your purchase. And if you want a t-shirt that says Beaker Builds or Tabletop Misfits, go to our buddies over at DungeonGrandmaster.com.
Yeah.
See?
And last but not least, we are now affiliated with
Renegade.
As soon as I spelled it right. Yeah.
Hey, you did spell it right.
So yeah.
So yeah, we've got Power Rangers going on, right? We've got, I think I can say this now, we've got a World of Darkness game coming up.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it at the end of the night tonight.
Yeah. So if you want copies of those rule books and all the goodies that come along with it, or anything else that Renegade has, check out that link. And I guess it's the other way on my screen. Check out the link, and any purchase you make using that link, we get a little bit back to us, and that's going to go a long way.
Long way. All right. Well, we've got all the fun stuff out of the way. Let's get into the actual nitty-gritty of tonight, which is hanging out with a new guest. Real quick. Yeah, hi. Anna, real quick, can you just tell people who you are, where they can find you, and what is going on in your world in the TTRPG space?
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name's Anna, or Anna Eliza on socials. You can find me pretty much everywhere on the internet at Local Level Up Lady. I am the co-creator of Hilarity Save RPG. We're a little creative troupe that likes to put together audio first actual plays, so no live streaming yet, but that may change in the future. But we make audio first podcasts using different TTRPG systems, and we've been really making a lot of new stuff lately that I'm excited about that we have coming up. I'm an actual play performer on the Hilarity Save RPG side of things. You can hear me as Amelia Victosolis in Minds Never Matter, which is a long form homebrew Dungeons & Dragons actual play. I'm also the dungeon master for Dastardly Dungeoneers, which is my baby. It is a high fantasy campaign that takes place in a world that's very much themed after the American frontier, so it's a little bit Wild West, but with the added flair of lots of devils and angels tampering in the lives of mortals. that is more of an anthology series. Right now, we are recording season 2 for that, Tales from the Road, which takes different parties comprised of different folks from around the tabletop community and throws them into different adventures across the continent of the Fairlands. We're also working on recording and releasing a Halloween horror actual play anthology called Beyond the Witching Hour, which I am very excited about. We just started doing cast reveals for that, and we have a very loaded lineup of guest game masters for that series as well, so it's something I'm really, really pumped about.
Oh, that sounds like a blast. And where do I get involved? No, I can't do that. Never mind. Stop.
Nope. Yeah, please don't.
We got enough projects going on over here. No. Chuck is literally going to kill me if I put anything else on our plate before the end of the year. We've got a ton of going on as well. And so cool to see that, because one of the things we love hearing is people making moves and bringing friends along with them. And this has been an interesting year of that, left and right. So awesome to hear that. We're going to dive into each one of those. You're going to probably have to break them down again for me, because that was a lot, which is
more than
fine.
happy to. More than happy to.
All I want to know is Feifel better be in that Wild West one.
It'd be good to have Feifel in the Wild West one. Otherwise, we might have other questions. So normally we'll start this off, and this kind of just gives us an opportunity to kind of get an idea of where you're coming from. Is I ask every guest 3 questions, and I'm going to do them one at a time, because otherwise you're like me and you'll forget the first 2 when I ask all 3. So the first question, of course, is how did your TTRPG journey begin? Now, this is before live plays, before acting. Like, where is the beginning?
Yeah, so my first ever experience with tabletop RPGs was back when I was in junior high school. So I think I was a freshman. So I was in like 9th grade. And I was a band kid, because who isn't, right? If you play TTRPGs, you're either a theater kid or a band kid or both. I was both. And there was a group of other band kids. They were upperclassmen. They were older than me, that played Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. And I kind of became friends with them because I'm really into anime and stuff, nerdy hobbies. And so eventually I kind of gravitated toward that direction, and I went and I would sit in and like listen to them play Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, these were mostly like high school boys in the 2010s, so they weren't exactly it was very combat heavy and very silly and very tongue-in-cheek and not super serious, but just like the idea of it really drew me in, and it just kind of stuck from there. I kind of have on and off played it since then, but in total have probably been playing Dungeons and Dragons for well over 10 years now. Awesome. Started with 3.5, then 5th edition, now transitioning everything over to 2024 rules.
So we are a full convert on this end.
Indeed we are.
There are a lot of people who are on the fence on that one, but we're testing our waters with it as well, so we'll see where it goes. So you kind of touched base on it, but you didn't say exactly why. So the second question I love to ask is, what got you hooked? What was that spark? What was the thing that said, oh, this was fun, but I can move on with life, to the point where you're like, no, I'm going to keep playing?
Yeah, so kind of like what I mentioned, when I was in high school, the people that I was playing Dungeons and Dragons with, they were very like tongue-in-cheek about it. Like, they didn't really take it seriously. It was much more of like a casual thing. And I liked making the character sheets. I liked coming up with the character ideas. But I think just because of the way that play group was, it was really difficult for it to like really worm its way into my brain until I was a little bit older. I was living on my own for like the first time, and I had a group of friends where I was living who wanted to try playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they'd never played it before, and I was the only one that had like familiarity with 3.5. So I worked at a bookstore at the time, which was great because I was able to get a bunch of source books for like super cheap. Picked up all the source books, as many new DMs do, decided to dive headfirst into building a homebrew setting instead of following a module. And I think what finally really wormed it into my head to stick forever was that first experience of having this big major twist that just devastates a player. I'm a big horror fan, to preface. And this homebrew setting that I came up with had a lot of horror elements to it. And I'm also a big fan of necromancy. I love my necromancers. And one of the first major mini bosses, we'll say, that this party had to fight was a reanimated zombie of one of the players' mothers. And seeing that character's reaction to that made it stick for life. I was like, okay, that was a little evil, but they all loved it. They all had a great time, and that's what made it stick forever.
Awesome.
Nice.
So how long did it take you from going from being a player to stepping behind the screen and being a game master?
Not very long. I think it was, when I was in high school, I was much more on the player side of things. It was very casual, but because I was the only person in my adult play group that had any experience with Dungeons and Dragons, I just kind of naturally fell into the role of DMing. And I love DMing. I love being on both sides of the screen, but there's certainly I do have the energy of a forever DM, despite the fact that I have been very fortunate to be in a lot of player positions and player roles.
But if push came to shove, you would rather be behind the screen. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's a honorable way of living. Like I said, I mean, it is very
humbling,
very few
at times.
often. Yeah, very humbling at times. So now we're going to go back. Now that we kind of got an idea of where everything started, how did you get involved with actual plays, podcasts, that portion of it?
So originally I started kind of dabbling with the idea of getting into actual plays because I came across, this was kind of during COVID or kind of coming out of COVID quarantine. And I came across a lot of TikToks about the indie TTRPG community and the indie actual play community. And it was something that was very interesting to me. And I ended up hopping into a lot of Discord communities, which eventually led me to meet Noah, who is one of the other co-creators of Hilarity Save RPG and the Dungeon Master for Minds Never Matter. And it was just kind of like a community Discord server where you could play one-shots or mini campaigns, and he had made a post in there talking about how he'd never had a chance to run Lost Minds of Phandelver and how he had really wanted to run that module. So I hopped in to that table as a player. I played a genie warlock named Seraphina, and Noah and I are both big theater kids, and the kind of patron warlock vibe that we had, this was just like a home game, was so good to a point where as we were kind of, and Phandelver's very short, it's a very short adventure, but towards the end of that adventure there was some character stuff that Noah and I both kind of wanted to resolve, I guess, or tie up those loose ends. And so we hopped into a private call together and had a full conversation as warlock and patron, and we were both kind of sitting there damn, we should have recorded that. And then a couple months later, Noah messaged me and he was like, hey, I want to start a podcast.
Okay.
And it just kind of fell into place from there.
Awesome. So then who was the original GM for the podcast?
So for Minds Never Matter, Noah is the Dungeon Master. And whenever we kind of first started putting Minds Never Matter together, it was so informal, because it was really just me, Noah, and one of Noah's real life friends who plays Pogo Stardust in Minds Never Matter. His name's Aaron. The three of us in a server, okay, we need 2 other people. How do we find them? And so we would just kind of we're scouring through our Discord friends list, who would be good and reliable for this? Mind you, we had only known a lot of these people for 6 months at the most. And of course, we brought Taylor on eventually, and then Taylor brought Nick on. So it was just kind of this funny domino effect of randomly finding people who would be reliable for it. And we're all still here 2.5 years later.
That's a big jump, and that's a long journey to go with the same group of people. So I commend you on that one.
Yeah, especially since we had all kind of not known each other for very long, and we were like, all right, long form D&D campaign podcast. What could go wrong? And nothing has gone wrong. And now we're making other stuff with other people, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're almost there, James.
Almost where?
we've picked up, misfits in here.
Our journey is crazy, but that's not tonight's discussion.
Just saying, we're there.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we went from a group of 5 people to a group of 1 person to 3 of us picking up a 4th. And a 5th. And a 5th. 5th. Oh, and a 5th. Yeah, technically, because your wife's picking up as well. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and like you said, it kind of comes from a personal connection, which, for Chuck and I, we had met through martial arts and then found out that we were both nerds, and it kind of fell into place where the 2 of us were going to work together on this. And then we've started our own little gathering of misfits over time, surprisingly through guests like this or through other podcasts or other shows that we're running. So I love this question because it's something that I'm always curious about, is how do you start to world build? When you are coming up with an idea, what does that look like?
When I'll use Dastardly Dungeoneers as kind of a reference for this. When I start to world build, I know that a lot of people like to start with like a town and then build from the town. For me, I am somebody who I really like to think about like the bare bones of it all. What would the people in this world, what is their general disposition? And then I go from there, because then I'm like, okay, if people are generally like this, whether that be angry or in conflict with something or struggling with something, what caused that? And then what is like the motive of the thing causing that? And then if there are people who feel differently, whether they be rebels, revolutionaries, what have you, how are they shaping the world around them to combat this thing that's affecting them? And then from there, I fill out like, well, this is what the cities would look like, and these are the cities that fall in line one direction versus the other direction, and kind of fill in all the gaps from there.
No, I like that, and I like the idea that it's not a big picture thing, but it's a idea, right? Like, sometimes they tell you before session 0 that you should kind of have an idea of how you want a journey to begin anyways. But I like your idea of, instead of doing how do you want the journey to begin, more of what are the common themes I want to touch in this adventure?
Yes.
And then you build from there by asking the question why, which is pretty cool. I really like that. So what was your inspiration for, and I'm going to get the name wrong, Dastardly Dungeoneers?
Yes.
All right, cool. Look at that.
So Dastardly Dungeoneers is a lot of things for me. It is my baby, and it's growing, and I'm very, very happy that it's growing the way that it is and that people are enjoying it. But Dastardly Dungeoneers for me really came from a personal place a little bit, I think. I come from a background where stories have been a huge part of my growing up. So, my parents were the type where they would buy me a ton of books and I would read the books, or they would read books to me. They would read stories to me. So I'm originally from very small town Arkansas, and my great aunt lived across the street. And when I was super little, I'd go over there with like all of my Pokemon figurines and like random pieces of paper, and I would tell stories to her. And the Wild West theme also kind of comes from a familial background as well, where like my dad and grandfather, they love Western stories or like Western movies. I grew up like going to the theater to see True Grit like the weekend that came out when I was like just going into middle school probably. So those kinds of stories were always so ingrained into my background. And I think the Wild West and the frontier, because of how much it was like a developing period, stories, whether they were written or spoken to one another, is really how people communicated. It's how we got a lot of mythology and folklore, and how people just understood how things worked was through stories. So I think one of the driving factors for coming up with Dastardly Dungeoneers was just from a love of stories and people having hope in one another because they hear stories that tell them that everything will be okay. And so I think that was a huge drive for it. When I started, I opened Dastardly Dungeoneers with a mini series called Hellfired Heroes. Shout out to 5 GMs in a Trench Coat for being my heroes. They haunt my narrative. I love them. They carried that story super hard. Each of them absolutely delivered. And they played these legendary heroes that were kind of like the paragon of what a hero should be on the frontier. They were chosen by their goddess. They were these kind of exalted figures in stories. And something happens where you're kind of thrust into this world, thrust into their story when they're older. Each of the characters was in their 50s about in human years. And they're all retired. They've gone their separate ways. There's some bad blood between a few of them. And they're forced to reunite because there is this threat that could reshape the entire world in a way that would be bad for everyone. And despite their exhaustion, despite their tiredness of being heroes, they know that they're the ones who have to deal with it. They can't leave it to be someone else's problem. And the end of their series, the last episode is called Prologue, set the tone for everything that's releasing now and everything that will release in the future for the show.
Oh, wow.
So they absolutely killed it. They are haunting the narrative. So if that's your thing, if you like tragic hero stories where they are plaguing every corner of the world that they left behind, that's what Dastardly Dungeoneers is. Season 2 that I'm recording right now, Tales from the Road. I bring together different actual play performers that I love engaging with other people's work and listening to other podcasts. So if I hear somebody who I really like or think would be a good fit for a specific story in Tales from the Road, I'll send them a DM and I'll be like, hey, I love your stuff. Let me get you to table. So Tales from the Road takes place 40 years after that final episode of Hellfired Heroes, and every single adventurer follows a different adventuring party dealing with some problem in the Fairlands with that same kind of Wild West overtone, but with the slow building, slow burn of there is something coming. There is something that will happen in the future. I'm really excited about it.
Hey, you should be.
I could talk
really.
about, I could gush about the people that I've scooped up for it all day long. They truly carry it. Like, the players for the series is what's carrying it and making it so special to me. And I'm just so excited about where it's going.
I had a very well created or well known APGM reach out to me, and we were talking at one of the conventions, and he made the comment. He goes, the GM's goal on an AP is to make sure the players are having fun.
Yes, absolutely.
The player's goal is to make sure the audience is having fun. And that's where you see the difference, because like you said, your players are carrying the story. They're the ones that are actually the ones making it exciting for everyone to watch, including the GM. And that's the fun part about APs, is that you don't have to, you can kind of take yourself away from the audience, because that's not your job. Your job is to make sure your players are having a great time. They're going to show everything else. And I'm sure that works the same way for podcasting. So.
Oh yeah. Even just like the small, I also edit the show, and I edit, when I trade off episodes of Minds Never Matter for editing. And even just like the decisions that the two of us make with our DM brains when we're doing like soundscaping or adding sound effects are so deliberate to like try and enhance what the players are doing.
So on average, how long are these episodes?
It varies. So most of the episodes of Dastardly Dungeoneers run about an hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours long. Tomorrow's episode that's coming out, I had to delay it. It's supposed to come out yesterday. Tomorrow's episode that's releasing comes in at around 3.5 hours.
Ooh.
It
Fun.
is loaded and it's great. So if you have the hours to spend to get caught up before Tales from the Road Volume 1 Part 2 drops tomorrow, I highly recommend it because it's a juicy one.
Awesome.
We've got a long plane ride coming up, so
We do have a long plane ride coming up, really long. I could almost go through, half a season of Critical Role on one plane ride, but we're not doing that. At least I'm not doing that. So the reason I asked that is because you also said you edit.
Yes.
So compared to recording, which your recording now is almost 3 hours or over 3 hours for this one, how long has it taken you to edit that?
I want to preface this by saying I am by no means at all a professional at editing. I learned how to edit last year. I learned how to use Audacity for editing podcast literally last year. I know that Reaper is king. It scares me. Maybe someday I'll try to learn it, but Reaper scares me. So it just depends. This 3.5 hour long episode, I ran into a couple roadblocks because my computer is hanging on by threads. But this one has taken me, the actual like cleanup portion usually takes me about 2 hours if I'm not like distracting myself with TikTok or doom scrolling on my phone. And then adding the background music and sound effects really just depends on how much combat is in the episode. I feel like if there's combat or a lot of investigation or like specific things happening that are like particularly action packed, it takes me a little bit longer just because I want to make sure that I can add in as much like little extra flair as possible. If it's more of like an investigation or like a role play heavy episode, there's usually a little bit less sound effects, so those don't take as much time. There's certainly like, I always try to add a lot of I try to make very intentional choices when it comes to background music or sound effects. I try to find things that I think really fit what's happening in the moment. So it just kind of depends. Sometimes I'll kind of look at music beforehand and be like, oh, that would be cool to put here. But even sometimes while I'm doing cleanup, I will go through and try to find music that I think fits and add it in as I'm cleaning up to hear how it sounds as I'm editing it. It's a little bit of a loosey-goosey process for me, but it gets done.
Hey, whatever works. I'm still running on loosey-goosey processes. We haven't narrowed anything down yet.
Yeah.
that's right. Seat of our pants.
Always.
Which is why I love this show. Because I can be completely at the seat of my pants because I have no prep whatsoever. Other than to make sure that you as the guest look amazing. That's the goal. Only goal I've got. And you're doing a wonderful job. The next thing I want to hit on then is Hilarity Save RPG. So you're doing this, and then what is Hilarity Save RPG then?
So because we wanted to start, I don't think branching out is necessarily the right word, but because we wanted to start tackling other projects that didn't just have the same 5 faces every single time, we kind of thought it would be better to, we don't really call ourselves like, I like to call us a troupe because we truly are just like a weird group of theater kids jammed into like one tiny little digital recording space. Because we wanted to start branching out and creating more shows or doing one-shots and bringing on guests, we thought that it would be better to kind of encompass that into like one troupe or network or name that we can create all of these unique shows with unique characters and unique GMs if we have guest GMs on, and unique cast members as we bring in different cast members. And so we each can have like our own projects that we want to work on and do, while still it very much being us working together collaboratively, because we do share a lot of the workload with one another. So it just seemed better ultimately to have everything kind of be a collective as opposed to like creating 30 different Instagrams for 30 different series that we're all wanting to work on.
That is the key. Because we're in the same boat. We run. Currently, we're at 4 shows. We're 4 shows right now. We're about to drop a 5th.
We're about to drop a 4th.
No. Tavern Talks.
Yeah.
Beaker.
Yeah.
Power Rangers.
Oh, just. Yep.
Just
you're right.
Quest.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, God.
Yeah. When I say we do way too much, we do way too much.
Oh, God.
But we also made it a rule that, everybody's not in everything. So, like, Chuck has Beaker builds, plus he also is running Power Rangers, and he has an entirely different cast with everybody. Dress to Quest is me and Sam, and a bunch of other people from there. And that was one that we got the opportunity to kind of draw from when I was running games over at Gen Con TV. And then Chuck and I do this one together, and Sam and I are doing the next project together. So it's usually 1 to 2. Like, I think Power Rangers is the only one where really it's just Chuck.
I mean, my wife's in that one.
But your wife's in that one, yeah. So like I said, it's just we try to make sure 1 or 2 of us are in it. At least 2 of us are in each one. It's become a journey. But yeah, we'll be at 5 shows starting next week.
Awesome. It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. 90% of these though are bi-weekly, and I love it. There's something about bi-weekly shows that makes my life so much easier.
That's what we've done. That's what we've done with Minds Never Matter. Minds Never Matter is a bi-weekly show, and it does make our lives a little bit easier.
Yeah. And we do about the 2 hour. We do about the 2 hour play as well. So
it's kind of a good sweet spot. You usually land on some pretty good cliffhangers with that 2 hour mark. So
unless you're in the midst of combat, you just have to keep going until it's over.
Well, then you just got to do it. You have no choice at that point. You can't cut somebody in the middle of combat unless there's a really good spot to cut them.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that this time.
No. This was your first episode where you actually went like over your time frame, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. It's all good. Like theirs just went 3.5 hours, so I'm sure they're feeling the same boat right now with that. So
yes.
It does happen.
No, you have 2 vampire combats back to back and a bunch of lore stuff. You just kind of end up with the 3.5 hour mark.
There you go.
There you go.
Mm-mm.
Mine was 1 single combat and then a little bit of a political intrigue at the end. It was great. Good time. What? Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking through. I'm sorry if I'm a little spacey. We've got a huge journey here in less than 48 hours too. So
where are you guys going?
Thailand.
Oh yeah, that is a big journey.
It's a journey.
Yeah.
I just had somebody from work whose husband came back from Thailand, so they had a great time.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a great time too.
Yeah. I'm gonna be dead.
Somebody will be.
Yeah. So no, we're going for martial arts. So we're gonna be.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Exhausted, but it's gonna be a good time. I feel like I'm gonna sleep great on the way home.
I sure as hell hope so.
Chuck, you got any questions for Anna? I know as a newer GM, because you haven't been doing this that many years yet.
She's been doing it longer than I have, so
I know. So this is where. So one of the reasons we brought Chuck on is because Chuck is a sponge when it comes to this stuff, and I love it. So every time we do one of these, usually my last question I ask him at the end of the night is like, "What did you learn?" And he's like, "Oh man, I picked up this." And I was like, wow, and he uses it every time he plays. So it's awesome.
I keep getting better, and my players keep saying I keep getting better. So I'm doing something okay.
You're doing something right then.
No, so I guess that does kind of go into one question at least. So you've been doing this for a while. What have you picked up on your end that you keep reaching back to in your toolbox to kind of keep player engagement?
Ooh.
Something I think that's really important and surprisingly pays off really well is that it's important to remember, and it's something I have to consciously think about all the time, is that while the players are out doing stuff, the NPCs aren't static. they're also doing things in the background. So I'm constantly, especially with a series like Dastardly Dungeoneers, where things are constantly moving because it's the Wild West, I'm constantly thinking about like, okay, well, this party is going off to do this, but what's happening in the area that they've left behind, and what are those people working on? Especially if they've had a not so positive interaction with an NPC, what is that NPC now doing to either get back at them or scheme against them? Or similarly, if they have an NPC who's planning to help them after the party leaves, is that NPC immediately jumping into action? Do they run into roadblocks along the way that could potentially lead into a little side quest, maybe a little rescue mission? I'm a big fan of those. And I think you constantly kind of have to consciously keep those cogwheels turning of like, the players are moving, but so is the world. You have to kind of keep everything moving in tandem with each other. And I think I'm a big player consequence person. I think, love players and they move and carry stories, but also every single decision they make, every single action that they take will have a subsequent reaction, whether it be from the NPC or the townsfolk where they are, or the surrounding area, depending on what kind of fight it is or what kind of combat it is. So I'm always constantly reminding myself to think about those things and think about how NPC opinions will change as news comes back regarding what the party's doing, or even because I try to put such a focus on stories and the way that they travel, how do those stories of what happened when the party was there get twisted as that information makes it back to NPCs that they talk to regularly, or their home base town, so to speak.
So that's an interesting question to ask, because you have moved to 2024. Have you implemented the Bastion feature yet?
I haven't used the Bastion feature in an actual play. However, I have played around with it a little bit in one of my home games. We actually have the way that one of my home games is set up, we're on a hiatus right now, but we have a large bastion that each of the characters has kind of set up structures in and kind of tinkered with. I like it. I think it would be difficult to implement for actual play, which is why I haven't implemented it for actual play yet, just because with the way that downtime is structured in D&D, sometimes it ends up feeling a little bit sloggy because, for example, with the Bastion system, it's like, oh, I have this, let's say, study set up where I can research something and make a spell scroll. Like, hey, DM, I'm going to spend 8 hours in my study so I can make this specific spell scroll that I want. And it's like, okay, well, how on earth can we, for entertainment, role play you sitting in your study for 8 hours? Or what can we kind of do in that time? Because that's kind of another thing that's tricky with actual play is you want every single character to get an ample amount of spotlight. And sometimes what's tricky for kind of the balancing act of that is mechanically you have to balance how to allow for that if they're wanting to do something objectively static. Which is why I think that the Bastion system, because so much of what you do in the Bastions feels static or kind of a downtime mechanic, it's difficult to implement into actual play, but I do want to find solutions around it, and I've been kind of racking my brain on how to make it work, because I do like the Bastion system. Okay. Overall, I think it's cool. In home games, it operates really well. Right now I'm running into roadblocks with the actual play part of it.
I mean, I think if you are okay with the idea of going back and forth between places, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
We implemented it this year with Dress to Quest as part of their reward for protecting the town. One of their NPCs was an innkeeper. The innkeeper was the first inn that they walked into when they started the game 50 episodes or 44 episodes ago, and they had to return after a big journey, finding out that one of the players' fathers was kidnapped and that kind of fun stuff. So they did a kidnapping adventure. But during that assault on the kingdom or on the town, that innkeeper died, and they said, okay, well, we want to take over the inn now. So now they took over the inn, and then they did another journey, got some gold, and then they came back and they hired people to build more onto it. So now we have the Bastions actually growing at that point. and it gives them a place to kind of just chill out. What I was doing is kind of similar to what you're talking about now, is kind of doing a quick vignette back to the town. It's like, okay, what's happening in the Bastion while the players are out, right? Like, and those fun little things. But other than that, I really haven't seen a ton of ways to use the Bastion in an actual play just yet. So
yeah, it's like a tricky balancing act with it, because mechanically speaking, they're very interesting and very cool for like, you know, I can imagine the positives of having a player character describe what their little corner of the Bastion looks like, or how they've kind of decorated it. Because that's what we did for our home game. Is, you know, our home game is very kind of hang out, and it's very dungeon crawl heavy. So when we do get those downtime moments, we go really in on just like vibing and like describing what we think certain things would look like. And so that aspect of it is really fun and really appealing. It's just the mechanic part of it to kind of twist that role play. It is tricky. It is hard.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. The other thing I will 100% stand on this cliff for the rest of my life on the Bastions. It's not invincible. I'm sorry, I'm not letting your home base be invincible.
Party pooper.
Absolutely. What more fun way to get the players to rally back up than the Bastion being under attack? Like, I don't get where people are like, no. In the rules it says you can't touch it. It's this home base. It keeps you safe. Blech. Don't play that, homie. Don't play that.
Yeah, it's not like the Elminster Wizard Tower where part of it's invisible.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's just not as much fun, right? Like, because you now have stakes that your players are very much invested in, especially if they've spent a absorbent amount of money in.
Oh yeah.
And that also comes to your players coming up with cool ideas for NPCs, because now you got to buy, you know, protection, or, you know, homeowners, or whoever's sitting at the house while it's empty, right? Because if it's empty, that means you have squatters, and that's always a fun one.
Our home game Bastion, one of the players is a cleric of Lolth, and she has gone around recruiting women to the cause, and now they work at the Bastion for us. So we've got a bunch of Lolth worshippers running around, running the place.
You have a harem. You have a harem in the Bastion. Wonderful, love it. Let's see here. What else?
Well,
what haven't we asked?
Well, there is one question that you haven't asked. How, and this is going to take a little bit of a turn, how have you been able to handle character death?
I love character death, personally. Both as a GM and a player. This is something that I ask all of my players if I'm doing like a long form adventure. I like to ask players during session 0 or during a one-on-one with them to talk about characters. I like to ask them 2 questions, which is, what would a satisfying ending for this character be? Like a happy end, what would that look like for you and for them? And if they died, what would be a satisfying way for them to go? And I think those are really important questions to ask, specifically for actual play, because death can happen. The games that I run are very lethal. But I also want to make sure that a player doesn't feel completely unfulfilled if a death happens. If they're down making death rolls, especially because it hasn't happened yet, but for example, if it were to happen in Dastardly Dungeoneers, the devils, the archdevils that I've homebrewed, and the hells in that world are very pertinent to how it runs. And hypothetically, if it were to happen where a player has failed their last death save, an archdevil would absolutely swoop in and try to take advantage of that moment, especially if the player has shown some kind of resistance to the devils previously. So I like to give them some kind of option or some kind of out with the negative drawback. But if a player death happens and the player is down and ready for it to happen upon that last failure, I let them describe it. I let them describe what it is for that character to let go. And I think that's really important. It's kind of the same thing as if they deliver the final blow on a monster, you let them deliver what it is when they go. And that gives them even though you, the DM, have killed them, it gives the player the control to describe it and gives them the control to give that character a satisfying goodbye. And I think there's plenty of things you can do after that character is dead as well. There's going to be repercussions and reactions from the other party members, from specific NPCs that player character had a bond with in reaction to that happening. I think that there's so much left of the story for that character even after they go, and that player writes up a new character sheet.
So how, since you are accustomed to the potential for death, and a player does bring a new character in, have you had what are some of the tips you've given or you've used in order to get that player to buy back into the story?
I think that there's a lot of different avenues that you can go for it. I think whenever I'm having a conversation with a player whose character has died and like, okay, so you've rolled up a new character, they're not just gonna poof into the party and kind of be there, I try to give them like a brand new, fresh introduction. So I'll kind of buddy up with that player, because then at that point, if they're rolling a brand new character and kind of reintroducing themselves to the campaign, they're also kind of getting a little peek behind the curtain of like, okay, well, here's the direction this is going, and here is where your introduction can happen. And they do kind of get, I like to try and give them like a fresh, from the ground up, like kind of introductory sequence where they're meeting the party for the first time, and kind of whether they want to like swoop in as like the folk hero from the local area that the party is and help them and just end up going with them, or if they're connected to something else going on that leads them down the same direction that the party is going. I like to give them some flexibility with coming up with, by just giving them a little peek behind the curtain of where the story is going for like the immediate future, giving them options of like, this is where we can have you reintroduce yourself and where you can kind of ease yourself back into the story. If they want to make a brand new character that's connected to their character that's died, I'm totally game for that, totally down for that. Or if they just want to completely start from scratch, I think there's a lot of value in that too, where it's like, this person died, yes, but that's the end, and now we're going to something completely different and telling a different kind of story. I think there's value in both directions for like however they want to build their next character, and I am very adaptable, so I'm game for people to do whatever they want to do whenever they throw it at me. As long as we can make it fit into the setting, you are good to go.
I think that's the hardest part, is you get a player who has this amazing idea for a character, and it will not,
doesn't mesh.
No matter how you move it, it just can't find the puzzle piece to fit in. And I think the hardest one.
That is tough. And I try to like throw bones where I can and be like, okay, well, we can take this aspect of the character that's really good and try to find some adaptability within the world and within the lore to make it work, I try not to say no, but there are times, I think, especially with actual play, where you do kind of have to be like, I really like this idea. This is the setting, and we need to do some workshopping to make it fit the setting. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think sometimes it's really difficult to have those conversations, and I haven't had those conversations happen really ever at all. It's just kind of my own anxiety of like, what would I do if this conversation happened?
Right.
But I think if you have to have those conversations, that's okay. Like, some game masters have a specific vision that they want for a story and a specific vision that they want for the energy that the players bring with their characters, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
What's up, Chuck?
None. It's just a lot. It's good. Soaking it in. I'm being a sponge here.
Being the sponge. Be the sponge. Be the sponge. We're closing in on the fun time, and hopefully we got some people out in the audience that have some questions, because it's really the one time that they get the opportunity to do so. But even if they don't have any questions, because we've answered them all already, we have a question roulette, and that's the fun part.
Ooh, very
But before
fun.
that, I have to get my signature question out.
Yeah, that's right. Forgot about that one.
Oh yeah, of course you forget about that. Okay, as either a player or a GM, what has been your highest high, and what's been the lowest low that you've experienced?
Oh man.
Yeah.
How?
See, that's why I ask it.
How can I do this without spoilers, without getting in trouble? So
You can say the player did the thing. I didn't like the thing. We love the thing.
See how long you can go around
oh,
how far you can go around the curtain instead of going into it.
I know. I'm trying to how vague can I be, and how do I not say a spoiler? Well, still
It doesn't have to be necessarily a spoiler. I mean, if you've got more than one
It's true.
in the back pocket.
True. It's just, man, recent things happening. Let me tell you what.
So point
What
everyone
you
to the
could do is not tell us what show it is or what campaign it is, and just give the building blocks.
So, this one's not a spoiler, so I'll talk about it. The show's been out for a while, so it's fine. So, in Minds Never Matter, when we first started recording that series, it's so funny. It's been going on for so long now. We are, as far as recording goes, we are in the process of finishing recording season 1 at the moment. But which is around like episode 50. We have only released up to episode 36 right now. And I think there's this really cute scene. This is more of a teaser than a spoiler. This is a teaser. I won't get in trouble for this. But Aaron and I, our characters, Pogo and Amelia, they're both nobles. They're both from noble families, but their upbringings were vastly different from one another. Pogo is, as Aaron will say himself, Pogo Stardust is a hardworking wild magic barbarian who's doing his best to become a wizard. He comes from a family of wizards, and he is a wild magic barbarian. And he's just like exactly what you'd expect him to be. He is a super sweet golden retriever best friend, and Amelia comes from a very almost militaristic noble family from a different region, and she's a conquest paladin with a warlock patron. So she's a little more rough around the edges, a little less silly goofy, a little more like we need to get things done, and a little bit more brash about it. And the two of them, through this arc that is releasing right now, so like I said, a little teaser, through this arc that's releasing right now in Pogo's hometown and his home region, the two of them really start to bond in a way that really packs them together as best friends and siblings. And it's not even combat related. It's not anything like, it's, you know what, it's super substantial to my character plot and I think Pogo's character plot, but it's not even anything that has like a huge bearing on the overall story. But there's this adorable sequence right when this arc kind of finishes where the two of them are having a conversation about how they really see each other as family, and Pogo headbutts her as like a pit bull shows affection to people. Pogo headbutts her, and she's like, "Why would you do that?" And he's like, I'm your brother now. I'm your big brother." And they have just such this really sweet, really adorable dynamic. And it's watching them slowly become like the perfect like crime duo and best friends, and having this kind of like brother from another mother situation is really amazing. As far as lowest lows go, I know that this sounds like a lie. It's not. I don't have a lot of lowest lows. I think, like any GM, the lowest low that you can feel is the very humbling experience of your party like cheesing a puzzle. just completely going around it and still finding a solution. Which in that case, I did have a very clever druid once who was locked in a wooden building. So my bad for making it out of wood, which had a magical puzzle involved. And she turned into a spider and crawled out of the building because she was able to find a crack and crawl right out as a spider. So as far as lowest lows go, it's just because I got outsmarted. I got goofed on.
No.
That happens
And
a
I
lot.
think it happens to every game master. It doesn't matter what system you're playing, it will happen to you.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
I'm out of juice. I'm out of juice now.
Oh, man. I thought I kept you around
Too
for a
much
reason.
sponge.
You don't. The only reason that you keep me around is to keep you in line.
No. He does a wonderful job. His Power Ranger game is really fun, actually. He's doing a great job with that. But let's see. So what, I guess something I haven't asked yet is, what are some of the inspirations that you have taken to create your thing outside of personal?
I am very influenced by different forms of media that I love and enjoy, whether that be movies or music or books. A big one for me, I am a huge classic lit nerd. I love Dante Alighieri's Inferno. And that has had some pretty big inspiration in helping kind of flesh out how the hells operate. Opposed to Forgotten Realms' structure for the Nine Hells, I very much went into a direction of loosely adapting elements from how the hells are structured in Inferno, from the weather to even kind of like the way that the powers of the archdevils work, is very inspired by the terrain in Inferno or in the Divine Comedy. Even the way that, like, there's not like a large pantheon of gods in Dastly Dungeoneers. So Zenith, the main goddess up in heaven, there's even like the sphere structure that's in the Divine Comedy as well. So as opposed to heaven just being like, or the concept of the afterlife just being like one big thing, there's different spheres that are separated by different mortal virtues.
Okay.
So I'm very influenced by the media that I enjoy, and I like to kind of take those influences and try to spin them in ways that I find interesting for storytelling, especially because I like to, because this story in particular is one that's so shaped around the players, whenever they come to me with like an idea, whether it be from like their own culture that they have a character idea for, or just like the general vibe of the character that they're going for, I want to build around that and flesh out pieces of the world around them as well, which has been invaluable to do.
I like it. Well, that brings us to the next part of our show. So this is where our friends in the audience get the opportunity to ask questions as happy hour is about to begin. So as the music changes, we're going to start asking questions.
Whoa.
And by us asking questions, he means
You
roll the dice.
turn on the tavern rowdiness and close down the normal
Music brought
play.
to you by our friends at Monument Studios using Fans
Absolutely.
Plus.
We're learning.
Gotta get that plug.
Gotta get that plug. Turn up the rowdiness a little bit. All right. So, with that, while our audience is gathering their questions, roll me a d20, please.
You got it. That is a very humble 5.
Very humble 5. We kind of asked this question already, Chuck.
I did, man.
We did ask that question. Roll again.
All right. Inspiration.
Inspiration.
10. Even humbler 10.
Oh, there we go. That's a good one.
That's a good.
What's your favorite spell?
I think my partner is watching this right now. He's going to get really upset when I say this. I love Jim's Magic Missile. It's stupid, and it's the best spell in the game, actually. Jim's magic missile is just like magic missile, but infinitely worse because you have to roll to hit, and I believe if you roll a natural 1, you get hit in the face by your own magic missile.
Yes.
Sweet.
It's perfect, and I love it, and I have no notes. It is objectively the best and worst spell in the game. A more real answer, I really like this. It's new-ish. I think new-ish. It's in one of the newer books. Sickening Radiance. Very cool spell. It's a radiant damage spell that just by description is a little weird and a little bit more malicious than other spells that do radiant damage that are described as being a little bit more glittery or light focused. Sickening Radiance is so bright and so holy in its radiant magic that it makes people around physically ill, and I think that's cool.
It goes very well with your Inferno, like montage, themes and stuff.
It does indeed.
Awesome. Audience, what are we doing? Let's ask some questions. While we're waiting, Chuck, do you have any favorite spells?
Oh man, I
or better yet, let me ask you a question that is more your alley.
Oh shit.
What is a favorite ability that you can be as a ranger?
That's a fun one. That is a good one. I love. It's kind of a basic one, but it's good for.
I mean, Jim's magic arrow is pretty basic too. Our magic missile is pretty basic too. So
yeah, but that magic missile was like explode in your face. Magic missile.
Jim's magic missile is special magic missile, and I love it.
Gosh,
Gold star magic missile.
No, I kind of like Power Quake. Honestly, it's one of those grid powers that you got a group of baddies around you. You just smash the ground, and everyone within 20 feet. If they fail their athletics check, they all just go prone. So,
Thunderwave, baby.
Good. Yeah, except instead of clapping thunder, it's you strike the ground and make it rumble.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one for that one. I'm trying to think. No, not Move Earth. I'm trying to come up with the version for D&D, but I can't think what it's called. Quake. I think Quake is one too.
Ooh, there's a bunch that I've kind of enjoyed. That one's a fun one. I've used it once. And then there's one that I'm going to try coming up soon.
Okay.
Called Terror. So if I can inflict damage or inflict a condition on an enemy, I get a point of terror that I can add to my damage. So, yeah. It's kind of nice.
I like it.
Yeah. I get to use that one next. What's yours, James?
Oh, of course you're going to ask me.
Oh, yeah. It's not so fun, is it?
I'm trying to see how far back I want to go. And I don't want to go cliche. I guess that's part of my issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of one of them. I mean, one of my favorite ones is, and it's because there's a story behind it, is Inflict Wounds. Because you always see the priests, you always see the clerics, they're always up there doing the cool stuff, and then all of a sudden you don't think about it, and then it's, I'm going to turn this around and I'm just going to zap you with it. And it's not a weak spell. So it's like, it hurts. But I say that in context because one of my first home games I had played after I got back into D&D, after I got back from my deployment, one of our players was up against a Bone Devil, and they ran up as a Divine Sorcerer. Now, it's the lowest armor class you can get as a cleric, because you're not a cleric, you're a sorcerer. And they ran and they tried to do a Hail Mary, rolled a crit on a Divine, on a Inflict Wounds, and did like 62 points of damage, nuts damage.
It's a gnarly first level spell.
Sadly, We play epic level. We play epic crits, so they do max damage and then whatever is after. The Bone Devil turned around and returned the favor with a full crit as well. And did 216 points of damage on the spike. And yeah, insta kill. Felt bad, but it was a good ending. Like,
yeah,
the two that was a good ending. But yeah, that's one of my favorite spells, Inflict Wounds.
It's a saving throw now in 2024.
It
It's
is.
not an attack roll anymore. Can't crit on it anymore.
Nope.
Shame.
I could still crit on a spike from a Bone Devil though.
That's true.
All right. Let's roll the dice again. See what we got.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
second roll. Second of 3.
16.
16. This one's fun. What is something that you love to add to your NPCs?
I like to give all of them a very visible flaw. Not a physical flaw, usually a verbal or personality flaw. In Dastardly Dungeoneers, there are hell speakers, which kind of they're almost like lawyers a little bit, or attorneys between devils and mortals. They help you navigate your warlock pact before you sign it, or read the fine print if you violate something in your pact. And there is one NPC who is near and dear to my heart. His name is Sullivan. He will be a recurring character in the series, but he appears for the first time in Hellfire Heroes. He is in Hellfire Heroes brand new to the line of work, and as soon as he is faced with a mediator situation, he clams up and cannot talk. So then it's just up to the person talking to the devil to figure it out.
Oh no.
I love him. He's a bumbling mess, and he will return later in the series. So I always like to give them some kind of little personality flaw that's very evident without it completely disrupting who they are as a person.
Oh, I got you. I like that. All right. I don't know. I don't know if you can do that one, Chuck. What's something you like to add to your NPCs?
Well, considering I've only had a handful of NPCs so far,
That's why I said I'm not really sure if I can give you that one.
I haven't picked a quirk that I want to give them all just yet. So, yeah, kind of dry on that one. Sorry.
I think for me, it becomes more of I like to give everybody their own personal goal. Like, no matter what the NPC is, unless it's an NPC that I have to make up like immediately off the top of my head, then it's a different story. They're going to be a little bland day one. Sadly, those are usually the ones that everybody wants to continue to talk to. So then you have to flesh them out anyways. But yeah, no, I like to give them a personal goal because sometimes that goal might align with the players, or sometimes that goal might not.
Yeah.
And then it's the player's job to decide, are they still going to be connected to that NPC or not because of that? One of my favorite is Bob. You know, Bob is that character that everybody comes to create because it's the first thing on their mind as soon as the players want to meet somebody. And our Bob is a little different. So our Bob was a logger from a town, and they decided that during a campfire they wanted to know Bob's story. So Bob became, he got discouraged from joining the town guard and all this stuff, and so they went on this whole journey, side quest, to make sure Bob could get in the town guard. And I was like, are we kidding? Like, this is what we're doing?
Like, guys, come on.
It's like you want to know what Bob's story is, and they went so deep into it. Is they're like, okay, once Bob leaves to the capital, we're going to send letters weekly so we can find out what's going on with Bob. I was like, I don't know if I love you guys or hate you guys at the same time.
Like,
this is ridiculous.
Where are we going? Yeah.
But yeah, I had to come up with, little bits of information about what's happening in the capital because Bob's reporting it to them. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the moments, Bob wrote a letter back and he was like, can we slow down on the writing? Like, I've got work that actually has to get done in the town. Like, and I'm sitting here writing every day to get this stuff back to you.
It's like, guys, I appreciate you for getting me the gig, but like, yeah, I'm good.
I'm good now. Like, we'll keep up, and I'll see you on holidays. Like, this is where we're at with this in the world right now. But yeah, that was my thing, is I try to give you somebody a personal connection somehow. All right. Trying to think if there's something that stems from that, because NPCs are a big one for me. So Chuck will understand this more as soon as I explain it, or he's going to help me explain it better. So writers usually find something that they're just very, very passionate about. Game of Thrones does food. Chuck got me involved with Jurassic Park, and they described the motions of animals, and to the detail of how the animal is breathing. What is something that just really you enjoy targeting in your world building?
I like to go really hard in describing almost kind of the body language of how people do things, obviously without removing player agency from making like more in-depth insight checks.
Yeah.
But I love having players describe, or even if they do it on their own accord, very intricately how their character does. How people do, I think, is very interesting, because even just the smallest pieces of body language in our real world varies from person to person. And I think you can learn so much about characters just from those small descriptions of how they are or how they do. I had a player in Tales from the Road that will come out tomorrow. He cast a spell and went without any prompting. He did it completely on his own. Had a full description for how he set up ritual casting scrying, and went so in depth and did so many small details, kind of with some of the background of the lore and the world, took it into his own hands and described how his secularist cleric performed a spell without having any like strict religious affiliation, how he like drew on that magic and how he channeled it. And I love stuff like that. I love hearing players, or even coming up with small ways that NPCs interact with the world around them in just the smallest ways. I think that's so interesting. And it's really fun to hear when players do it on their own accord, just come up with like the little tiny ways that their character chooses to do things.
I like that. What about you, Chuck?
I mean, I don't know, because we're talking about how players want to really bring their stuff to life, and I know
No, we're talking about what you enjoy focusing on when you're world building or you're lore crafting. That is that one little niche thing.
I don't know if I found that one little niche. I mean, I know when I'm reading, I enjoy certain aspects, but when I'm world building, I get too caught up in my head to really focus on that one niche, because then I feel like I'm focusing too much on the one niche. I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I do just like, if I can find something to flesh out, especially for like a world that is brand new to a setting. So for like the Power Rangers setting that I'm running, yes, there's a lot of established lore. There's already some established planets, but I'm finding new settings, or trying to find new settings, and just flesh that out and just have my little piece in something that's already well established.
Absolutely.
It's been difficult. I've had to flex muscles I didn't think I was ever going to have to flex ever again. But
here and here and here,
those wrinkles are coming back. They're coming back, and I'm getting there. It's like you can see in each episode, like I'm getting better and better, and a little bit better each time. So they're getting there.
Well, you're taking the opportunity to explore those paths, right? Because I think the one thing cool about those journeys, either if they are a full homebrew or if they're not, is no matter what, there are gaps in everything. We've been playing in Icewind Dale for almost 2 years now, but yet if you read a lot of those stories, they give you 2 or 3 good like points, and then they're like, hey, here's the idea of what it looks like here, but we have no idea, so make it up.
Yeah, have fun.
Have fun. I mean, and yours is a little different, Chuck, because you try to make sure that all of your worlds are kind of also surrounding around each player.
Right.
So you have, so that's your building block. So you go, okay, the players, and they're working with their fears. Like, okay, so their fear is this, this, and this. How can I add the environment to look like that, to help with that?
Yeah, and I've had to do that particularly with a few of them. I know with our Black Ranger, I completely had to make a whole new planet with that one. That was just completely covered in, remnants of war. It's just like, well, this planet exists, and he's the bad thing. The funny thing is, his character comes from the future. He's like, do I know anything about this planet? No, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not there.
It's not there anymore.
It's not discussed at all.
But
so
I think that's the cool thing about like what you start to focus on, right? Like yours is that nuance of not wanting to touch lore. Like you're like, okay, but I want to put my own piece of the game into it. I want to put my own puzzle piece to it. And you're currently is environmental building. Your players kind of take care of the rest, but yours is building that environment that they're playing in, because yours is completely theater of the mind.
Yeah.
So that's your goal. For me, a lot of mine changes because of the fact that we use a lot of maps and we use a lot of artwork. So it's like, okay, what do I focus on? Sometimes one of the things I enjoy focusing on is making sure that every NPC has something that makes them different. And that can be hard. Like, you got five people walking around in an area, and you're like, okay, but what is catching your eye about him compared to him or her or that, either any of them? And those are the questions you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it's very quick. You're like, that guy's got a scar, that girl has long hair, and that dude's red. I'm done. Like, that's all I got for you tonight. And then you move on. But I really do enjoy those moments and listening to see how people focus in on certain things, because it'll actually make it so that if your players notice that and they focus in on it, it makes your, it gives that extra little bonus for you.
Oh, absolutely.
I get to focus in now.
Yeah.
All right. So let's roll one last time for the night.
Excellent.
We're closing in on our time anyways. So
15.
15.
I think we dealt with that one already.
I think we already dealt with that one because we already dealt with death.
Excellent.
Oh, goodness.
14.
Okay.
We're doing a countdown. Something will happen at 1.
I mean, this is technically that, yes. What is your favorite event that you have put your players into?
Oh, man. I love just a big random fight with a bunch of guys. I truly do. I really like high level combat. I love high level D&D. Some people say that it's kind of sloggy. I would disagree. I think that there's a lot of, especially something I really like about 2024 is that they brought back epic boons, which is great and awesome. And if you're like me and you like running high level stuff, what that means is that you can throw a bunch of little guys at high level party members, and even though they can kill them really fast, more guys will keep coming. And I think there are so many fun ways that you can work with initiative order, and some really fun things that I've done at some home game tables is have multiple mobs coming in almost kind of in waves. There's kind of like, I have tinkered with it a little bit. I was so I don't know if either of you played Baldur's Gate 3 when it was still in early access, but there was a mechanic that they were kind of playing around with during early access, which was like a mob initiative thing. So like when you were at the Goblin Camp, there was a build during early access where like a cluster of the goblins, if they rolled the same initiative, would act at the same time. And I have really enjoyed playing around with some home game one-shots that I do a lot of like home game one-shots with friends to play test things that I'm going to use in actual play to make sure that it works in a way that's not a slog. because I think playtesting and doing test rolls. I also like to make like custom monster stat blocks. Test rolling and test playing is very important
Oh yeah.
before you actually throw it at players. Um, so one of the most fun moments that I've had is doing like a home game one shot where I'm like testing out this like kind of mob mechanic to see if it'll work in an actual play,
Mhm.
and just like seeing players' reactions to the way that the initiative works and the way that the waves of enemies keep coming, and they're able to keep tempo with it, but they're also draining their resources and they're not sure when it's going to stop. So you can kind of see, I love seeing like a blend of players rolling with the mechanics of the game, of like trying to keep up with their resources while also role playing in character, communicating with one another about what they should do or what their goal should be in this situation. Like, can they run? Can they figure out where these things are coming from? So I had a very fun experience at a home game of players dealing with that problem and kind of piecing it together. I don't want to give too much away because it will probably come up later in a show, for some big narrative flair. But watching players piece together in their heads and with each other an in combat puzzle of how does this stop, when will this stop, is so fun and so rewarding as a game master who loves high level stuff and loves watching players get to do a bajillion damage in a turn.
I love that. And it is a good way to do it because, like I said, you can kind of build those waves upon waves so that, yeah, you're right. You are throwing, 66, 76, whatever it is you're throwing at them, and you're wiping out monster left and right. But if they just keep coming, then is it really helping?
Yeah. It's like when all that AoE spell, when all your AoE spells are gone, you've got a quarterstaff and a dream. So,
Yep. Hopefully that's all it need. Well, we're closing in on that half hour and though chat was quiet tonight, the questions were not. They were good questions. I loved them. And your responses were absolutely incredible. I loved hearing some of the ideas that you had for your stories, and the fact that you're one of the very few people I know that love large, high-level combat.
do love some high level
That's
combat.
pretty awesome. Real quick, before we close out, let them know who you are, where they can find you, and all that fun stuff, so that we can get some friends over to your spot to check out your stuff.
You can find me everywhere at Local Level Up Lady. That's LOCAL LVL Up Lady. You can also find me everywhere at Hilarity Save RPG as well, where I'm putting together some really awesome tables for Beyond the Witching Hour and for Dastardly Dungeoneers as well. You might see some faces from around the community that you follow from other really incredible shows like 5GMs in a Trench Coat, Game Master Monday. Lots of friends from around the space we like to try and have on. Help action needed. We've got Sean in for a Beyond the Witching Hour game. So if you love all of those other podcasts, like I love all of those other podcasts, you can come and kick it with our Halloween series when that comes out. The first episode will be dropping in late October. A new episode of Dastardly Dungeoneers comes out tomorrow morning, so great time to binge that if you are a stay up all night kind of person. And yeah, all of our shows are available all across wherever you get your podcast. They're all audio first, so you can just put them on in the background when you're doing whatever and hear some really cool stories.
Nice. Awesome. Well, once again, it was really nice having you here on the Tavern tonight. For those that are watching, next week you will see new faces, if maybe, possibly, as our wonderful friend Sam is picking up at the Tavern, but currently we're looking for a guest. And he said he's got somebody, but he said he wasn't sure yet. So Tavern could be open, could not be. Other than that, we have a new show coming out this Sunday called Night of the Worm. Our wonderful GM Sam is going to be our storyteller for that show. I get to play a character, which was awesome because I haven't played a character in a long time as the Free Ever GM, and it's gonna be it's World of Darkness, so it's a lot darker, it's a lot scarier, and it's a lot of fun. We have a huge cast of 10 people that are going to be on and off throughout the entire show, or for season 1, and we really would appreciate you to bring a huge crowd to episode 1 starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday night. Yeah. Other than that, as we've said before, you can see Chuck normally on Thursday nights. Chuck is going to be on a plane Friday morning with me.
Yay.
And then the following week, after we get back, we're still not going to have Power Rangers because Chuck's going to be jet lagged. And most likely we're going to have a Dress to Quest one shot because I'm going to be jet lagged. And then hopefully we'll be back early enough for Tavern Talks.
Tavern Talks.
Hoping. So keep an eye out on all the socials. I know it's going to be a little quiet this week with everybody traveling, but once again, we appreciate everybody. Big shout out to hitting 1,000 followers again here on Twitch. It's a big milestone for the Misfits. And if you enjoy what we do, feel free to like, share, follow, subscribe. Come hang out with us in Discord. All that fun stuff. Until then, this is Last Call. Raise your glasses high. And we will see you guys all next week. Or in 2 weeks for the next episode of Tavern Talks. Stick around real quick as we go raid some friends.